Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Carbonite. Sign up for Carbonite and use the promo code TWiST to receive your special offer. And by MailChimp. Manage lists with up to 2,000 subscribers and send up to 12,000 emails per month for free with MailChimp.
Hello, everybody. We've got an amazing news roundtable. Paige Craig is with us from BetterWorks, angel investor. Sean Percival, of course, of MySpace and LaLaWag fame. Tyler Crowley, the steep decline, is with us, even though the market's rebounding. And Lon Harris, the editorial director of Ranker, will read us the news. All that and more right now on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Introducing the newest members of the This Week in Startups producer program.
Hey everybody, we've got an amazing news roundtable, and we want to get right to the news because I'm going to Vegas after this. Thanks for all the help. TWiST producers, 120 people have signed up to become producers of the show. What does it mean to be a producer? It means that you have a great life. It cures depression, cures cancer. You get more friends, you'll find a girlfriend or a guy will marry you, you'll have beautiful children and a beautiful life if you become a TWiST List producer. All those things are true, right, Lon?
Oh, that is going to happen. It happened to me.
Exactly. Look at Lon.
He's living for me now.
Living proof. With us today, Lon Harris, of course, from Ranker, is going to read us the news. Paige Craig, serial entrepreneur. You're a Marine? Was it Marine or Army?
Marine Corps.
Marine Corps.
Yes, Semper Fi.
Booyah.
Semper Fi.
Semper Fi. What is booyah?
Booyah is more of a lame army thing.
Oh, booyah is a lame army thing. All right, Semper Fi. Semper Fi. And of course, now doing BetterWorks, which is probably the hottest startup in Los Angeles right now, and one of them in the whole tech space. And actually, I was talking to somebody who works for you, and they said, "You think you're a hard boss, Calacanis. I work for Paige Craig." So now he's like, Paige Craig. People are saying Paige Craig is a harder guy to work for than me. Sean Percival, speaking of working for me, worked for me for about 6 weeks.
That's all I can take.
That's all I can take of you two. It's mutual. Then went, of course, over to DocStock, worked with Jason Nizar, great entrepreneur. Yep. Spent some time working with Mike Jones at Savo and MySpace, and now is a new social media consultant. But he's actually one of those who, if you pay $300 an hour to, it would be worth it. He actually knows what the F he's talking about. And, of course, my trusty sidekick and consigliere, Tyler Crowley, CEO of Squeal, is here. Oh, no, you're not here.
No.
Where are you?
He's in the isolation booth.
Yeah, I'm somewhere else.
Somewhere else, okay, all right.
Undisclosed location.
Yes, of course. And, hey, before we get to the news, and there is a lot to talk about, I want to talk to you about Carbonite. Carbonite is the backup solution I use. And anybody else use Carbonite?
I use it too.
Oh, there we go.
Carbonite,
Wow, look
right
at that. Oh, right on the horn. And Tyler, of course, didn't use Carbonite on one of his computers and lost data. Unbelievable that Tyler would make such a bonehead mistake when Carbonite is so easy to use, and I use it. And as you guys know, the advertising on this program is sold out for months in advance. There's a white list, and I give them a list. Hey, here are 20 products I love, including this new Samsung Android phone I got, I got the Galaxy Samsung, which is 25% more real estate than the iPhone. And I'm like, iPhone, Samsung, Android? And I have my guys take Android and, what do they call that, jailbreak it, basically? Yep. They rooted it, and the battery lasts forever, twice as long as my iPhone. And when I surf the web, it's twice as fast because Verizon's got this LTE or something. It's incredible. But anyway, I put them on the white list. But I had the same conversation about Carbonite because I fell in love with it like a year ago because unlimited backups, and it's great for business. 2 free bonus months if you use the code TWiST, T-W-I-S-T. Thank you, Carbonite. Plans start at just $229 a year if you want to use it for business, and that's a really great thing to do. If you got one of those small businesses, you don't want to be effing around with like hard drives and then you're worried that your employees are actually using this stuff. You put Carbonite on there, it's like locked down and it's going to be backed up, and you're going to be in control of those backups in case something happens to them, their laptop gets stolen, they leave the company, whatever. You need to have all that data backed up, and you need to use Carbonite to do it. Do you use Carbonite, Sean?
I do. I've used them for a long time.
That's a big, you're the kind of guy who would actually like research that and pick the best one.
I'm a little paranoid about backup, and actually I posted an old photo last night of my old computer setup from about 7 years ago, and I had a tape drive.
Oh my
that's
God.
How crazy I've been about
Wow,
that.
you're neurotic.
So I have Carbonite.
And now you have
I
your daughter, and
local-
you're taking all those photos and videos.
It's mostly about photos, to be
We share
honest.
photos on Path.
Yeah.
We're like, there's like 4 people on Path.
Right,
It's
yes.
us and Sherman, yeah.
Yeah, us and Sherman, the 3 of us. And it's like Charlotte, London, Charlotte, and then 80 things by Shervin, like with the president. And then it's, it's like
Charlotte,
unbelievable. Tell
Charlotte
us
with
what's
the
in the
president.
news.
Oh, wow, we'll jump right in. So we should start talking about Groupon. That was the one the community wanted to hear about the most.
Okay.
When they originally filed paperwork for their forthcoming IPO back in June, there was some controversy over the accounting practices. Specifically, they were using a metric called Adjusted Consolidated Segment Operating Income, which is a fancy way of saying, let's leave marketing and customer acquisition costs completely off the books and just pretend like that's not happening. Responding to criticism of the move, Groupon has since amended the filing and removed the metric, and the adjusted numbers paint a less rosy picture of the overall financial health of the company. We now know Groupon incurred $420 million operating loss for 2010 and a $117.1 million loss for the first quarter of 2011. That's as opposed to the original filing, which showed $60.6 million for all of 2010 operating income and $81.6 million for the first quarter. They also updated some more of the past quarter's numbers. I have all the numbers here if you want to hear them. CEO Andrew Mason has defended removing these costs from the metric because they are a one-time upfront cost based on the massively rapid expansion of Groupon in a short amount of time. So do you think there is any case to be made for why they left this metric off other than to try to sort of deceive
I'd be interested
people?
in hearing Paige's thoughts on this.
Yeah, I heard.
Are you a shareholder? I know you buy some
No.
second market stuff
No,
once in a while,
no,
right?
no. Don't have any
Groupon.
interest in Groupon. I have an interest, but not a financial interest.
Right.
I haven't even bought a Groupon, but I think they've moved to a new metric called EBE. It's going to be earnings before expenses, and that will dramatically improve their performance.
Earnings before expenses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but I have not been bullish on Groupon. I don't think it's good for small business. There are cases where it is. I could see a day in the future where it does get good for the small business, but when you look at the fact that they put a lot of liability on a small business owner, that scares me. I don't think that really serves people, the business owners.
The liability being what?
So you have these vouchers, right, which may be redeemable. Do you know what kind of exposure you have as a small business?
I see. From
Right?
an accounting basis, you basically have this outstanding debt to the world because
As a
you've
small
collected
business,
the money.
Right. And it's a big issue. No one's really decided, is that voucher a gift card? Is it redeemable in the future?
Right, and that would depend on what the IRS and some of these local communities say. And
Yeah.
they've basically constructed it as promotion,
Yeah.
and they're saying it's not a liability, it's just a coupon. It's marketing
I think
expense.
it's up in the air right now.
Yeah.
And they've pushed that off on the small business owner. So
Is it a flag when somebody uses special accounting? You know, we had Demand Media saying like, oh, we're going to do some special accounting and amortize the cost of our content. What do you
I can understand that. I mean, if it's content that's going to be used for X
Right.
number of years in the future, and you can demonstrate that, I think that makes sense.
Right.
Can Groupon say that the marketing dollars they spent last year, are they actually going to go away? I don't think so.
What do you think, Sean?
I mean, my big concern is I think the model's still too new. We don't know what the LTV on these customers are. In a year, no one could care about this. The business could fall off a
LTV
cliff.
being?
Lifetime value.
Right.
So is a customer with $10, $100, $1,000?
Right,
It's hard
and
to
what's the
say.
acquisition cost of the customer?
Yeah.
And so this is way up in the air. However, I will say if you spend if you lose $500 million to build what they've built over the last year, if that's what they cost them to build, and they lost $500 million. That just seems like a pretty reasonable loss on the fact that they built this massive global brand with 100 million customers.
Right. Well, I mean, I think the question would be why not be upfront about that when you're filing the IPO? Well, look at one-time cost.
It's a huge mistake. Somebody made a bonehead mistake and said, let's try to be creative here and make it look better. Instead of just being upfront and saying, we're going for it. We're swinging for the fences. We're trying to build a global brand. And sure, we're going to invest a couple $1 billion to do it. But if we win, we might have created something that will be akin to what? What is it akin to? I guess there's nothing in the world like it.
Well,
I mean,
so you're on the positive side of Groupon now,
Yeah.
which is that what Groupon has shown is that all those dreams 10 years ago, small businesses can make money online. All
Right.
those mom and pop brick and mortar, we're now
Yes.
in the age of reality where you can sell your pizza, your spa service online. So what has Groupon done?
and you can
well?
sell it to 1,000 people. They've proven that
10,000,
10,000.
right?
They've
I mean-
gotten thousands of people to come to
Right.
local businesses.
So they've done a great job with a brand.
Yeah.
And this demonstration that small business doesn't have to throw money at Yellow Pages. You can make business online.
Right, and the losers here are the Yellow Pages, clearly.
Clearly.
And local newspapers,
Yep.
right? Because a local business has so much budget.
Potentially, but there's an interesting model with group commerce where they're tying into publishers online and offline, and saying, we can leverage all those old school papers online and take that audience and leverage it for a deal.
Why hasn't a Yahoo or a New York Times or a Los Angeles Times really done this correctly? I mean, you were at MySpace. Did MySpace say we should do a deal site? I mean, that must have come up.
Yeah, I mean, we actually, when I started, we had a local site, MySpace Local.
Right.
And it was one of the good products from a architectural standpoint. It was built very well.
Right.
It did horribly, though, because kids on MySpace, they can't go to bars, they don't go to nice restaurants.
Right.
It was the wrong audience for them. So
if they could get a
try,
50-cent Italian ice for free with 2 slices of pizza, though.
Well, that's the thing. Is towards the end, we did a test with Groupon, and we did a mailing, we did stream advertising, just like Twitter was doing, and it actually did very well.
Yeah. Well, they were paying $4 or $5 per email address if you got them signed up. So there's a major. I think they've been the beneficiary has been all these publications that are actually running Groupon ads for the last couple of years as Groupon and Living Social battle it out. Tyler, any thoughts?
Well, there's two pieces: the customer side and then the merchant side. And the customer obviously has liked it historically, but I feel like customers, because of the volume of it, are starting to become a little less. The novelty is wearing off. That's kind of a key issue.
Yeah.
Right? Because now Google's got in the game and everyone's gotten in the game.
There's too many deals, and the deals aren't as compelling.
Right. It's like the banner ads initially. The click-through rate on banner ads used to be 5%, and now it's like 0.8%, right?
Right, because it's worn off.
Right. The novelty's worn off. That's something to consider, and to a large degree. And then for the merchants, it's now become a bit more of you have a lot of places to choose from now in terms of who you're doing these deals with. It used to kind of just be Groupon was the one.
And then it was Groupon Living Social, now it's everybody.
They made a very substantial effort to buy out every kind of new competitor that would spring up to maintain their position, which was very important to their model.
Right.
But now that Google's in the game and everyone else in the game, it's like the cat's out of the bag, and it's going to be who's the best for the
local business.
For the local business. And
they don't have the local business over the barrel.
And these people talk to each other, right? And
the big fee they take, the 50%, that margin is
now that the monopoly is out of the bag, now that
the margin pressure is going to come, and then that makes this accounting look even more challenging.
Right, the combination of those two things, I still feel like there's long term, they're still playing a bit of a middleman that I don't know will exist 5-10 years from now.
No, it has to exist because somebody has to aggregate all these users who want deals.
There will be a platform, but I don't know that it'll be based on business development and hustling.
I think Groupon's going to be ingrained into people's minds for decades to come. Like, if I want a deal, I go to Groupon. If I want search, I go to Google. And
if free music, I'll go to Napster.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Next story. On that note, let's move on to the next story.
You'll go to Walmart.
Listen, I think it's a great brand. I think they got a lot of innovation left in them. I think they shouldn't have done. Never do creative accounting. It's just like rule number one.
Yeah.
Anytime you do anything creative like that, it winds up biting you in the ass.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat room pointed out, Enron also known for doing creative.
Yeah, it's just like you make at AOL did the same thing, trying to spread their marketing costs, like when they were sending all those CDs all over the place, and they did have lifetime value of their customers.
Yeah.
It's just like incur the goddamn expense and move on because it just gets too complicated. And with demand media, it put the whole company in this context of maybe they're gaming the system. And I don't think you want to have people thinking you're gaming the system before your IPO. And I think they've taken a great company and a great management team in Groupon, and they basically scarred themselves. They shot themselves in the foot saying, we don't believe in this business, so we're going to do some creative, funky accounting. You don't need to do it. Next story.
All right, I sort of teased it, so we'll just jump in. After 8 years in business, the Walmart Music Download Store, it had been at mp3.walmart.com, will shut down at the end of August. All content in the store will be disabled, will no longer be available for download from the store, though the plan for now, at least, is to continue to allow people to access the DRM songs they already paid for. The site had originally been hailed by some as a threat to Apple's iTunes, which has continued to dominate the music market to this day. Walmart's strategy had been to undercut Apple with cheaper download prices. It appears 10 or 15 cents off a song was not a large enough incentive for people to switch over. So I guess my question would be, do you think anybody else is poised to unseat Apple or to really be a threat to iTunes, Spotify, or some of these other subscription services maybe? Or is Apple still the totally dominant player for the next 5-10 years in this area?
What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't really use iTunes. I actually use RDIO. But that's my own personal thing. I prefer the whole stream whatever I want, search whatever I want, and buy stuff when it shows up.
Yeah.
But
I've switched over to Spotify myself now that it's.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the
iOS.
revolution, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm there 100%. I think Apple will have something with their new Klout, which will be very similar to Spotify in a few ways too. I think it's funny with Walmart. I mean, this is a company that just needs to stop trying to do stuff like this. They did
Yeah.
a social network. I don't know if you guys remember that. It failed as well
Yeah.
too. And they applied the same model they applied to their store, which is they do with DVDs. The DVDs are always the cheapest at Walmart because you can go in there and they know that you're going to get the DVD
And milk.
and they'll lose money. So they did this and they're famous for it, and it really worked. That doesn't work online though.
But
I
they
don't
lost
buy
the
multiple
entire
things.
music section, which was a big part of their business, so they were trying to defend it. And now they're going to lose their whole DVDs, so they have Vudu, which is their movie rental service.
Right.
And now the question is, I think, you have what Apple has proven, I think, is a soup to nuts experience, from device to marketplace to consumption. If you have that whole experience, you win. And people will pay a 30% premium, I think. I think they'll pay an extra $1 for that.
For the ease,
For the ease of use and whatever.
I open my
And
iTunes,
so
I plug in my
if
iPod,
Walmart
and
had
it's over.
the store, and I know this sounds even crazier, but an actual iPod competitor, they would have had a better chance.
Wallpod.
And I think what they're doing in movies now is they're saying, if you want that Samsung TV, which we have, or that Vizio up there, they're forcing those people to put Vudu on the desktop if you want to sell it in their store.
Right.
So I think that they've got a better chance of, excuse me, partnering with the flat panel TV people. And this is why it's so critical, and why 4 years ago, 5 years ago, Tyler, when we were in England, I let out of the bag that somebody inside around Apple had told me they're working on television sets. And Apple will come out with a TV set because they need to replicate this soup to end monopoly. And you will pay, if you think of the lifetime value of, or the lifetime cost of a TV. If the Vizio was $600 and you had it for 5 years, whatever it is, it's going to cost you, $1 a day for your TV. And then you have an Apple one and it costs you $2 a day. Does anybody care? No. People just, I'll pay $1, I'll pay $2. If the difference is $2 to $3 to have an Apple product, people are going to do it, or enough people will do it.
Seems to be pretty evident that.
So look for the DVD aisle to be the next place. That is what I would think.
Maybe Walmart buys Hulu.
Well, actually, I mean, you have to wonder
Somebody's gonna-
why you haven't seen a major retailer and a major internet company combined. Because I think we're past the point of, valuation is an issue. Why wouldn't Amazon, if Apple has made such a great retail experience, why wouldn't Amazon buy a Walmart? And they can't, but why wouldn't they have superstores? I mean, if they have this location wherever it is, why wouldn't they have a superstore where you can go pick it up or browse stuff?
That is, it's interesting, but it's so counterintuitive in a way, because it seems like, well, that was Amazon's big selling point, was they didn't have to have these brick and mortar stores. They could just have warehouses.
But
and
why
they
not
ship.
have both? I guess is what
I
people
know,
are
it's
getting to.
an
Like, I
interesting
can
idea.
order at Apple, and I think it was just this bias of it's going to kill our valuation and it's going to be hard to focus on.
Right.
But Amazon has delivery by UPS on lockdown. So why not add
So
this?
Amazon should have just bought out Borders.
Absolutely.
those
I mean,
Borders
actually, there was an
storefronts.
argument that
actually not a bad idea. It's an
Microsoft
interesting idea.
or Apple should have bought it. I mean, if Apple really wants to make a move into books, they could easily afford with their $80 billion to buy Barnes & Noble. I don't know what the market cap is, but I'm guessing $1 billion or $2 billion. They
Apple
buy
can
Barnes &
swing it.
Noble, and they just put iPads all over it and say, come on in and buy it. Or if Amazon were to buy it and put, what's their reader? The Kindle.
Yeah.
Just buy Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and put the Kindle everywhere in the store, and have every book next to a Kindle with a book, and say, buy the book and the Kindle, or buy the Kindle, or make the Kindle a subscription service.
Barnes & Noble and Bezos.
It's such a no-brainer. Why wouldn't he do it?
No, it's-
I think
it's
Amazon,
interesting.
they want to be the place that you can get anything next day, no matter where you are. They don't have that unlock yet. They're very close. Prime and their deals and so forth, they're really close to that.
Prime is, how many
so
people
you
have
have to
Prime?
Look at Nordstrom, right?
I have Prime. You have Prime?
No.
You have Prime. Do you have Prime? Wow, that's interesting. 4 out of 5 folks with Prime. And do you know what Prime is?
No.
Explain what Prime is.
Basically, you get free shipping on just about everything.
On where?
On Amazon.
I don't
and
buy
then,
anything from
Oh,
Amazon.
you don't do anything?
No.
Okay. Well, you can also do next day shipping for
I
$2.99.
I like to buy stuff in the real world. And I think when you talk
You're
about
a weird Paige.
Yeah, you're strange. We knew
counterintuitive,
that,
the thing is, massive companies like Groupon, Living Social, building what tech companies traditionally don't do, local sales force. And you're talking about retail world where everyone was like, oh, we'll buy everything online. I'm still the guy that likes to go into a real store and see something and talk to people and experience that. But
Yeah,
look
you're
at,
an old school guy.
It's true. I've been
No, but
shopping with you. It's an experience.
I
yeah.
like the unions. So Nordstrom buying Outlook is a great example. We talked about.
Yes.
You know.
But that was a defensive move for them to say, hey, let's go online.
Yeah.
Which one of the online folks will be as brave as Steve Jobs and say, let me create a retail experience?
I was saying online consume the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Online consume the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Amazon should buy Barnes & Nobles, or should have bought Borders and just said, this is a place to buy Kindles and books.
And coffee.
And coffee.
Yeah. And just have that one-on-one sort of
How
experience.
delicious would an Apple espresso? I mean, why not buy Starbucks? All right, next story.
The
That's getting
espresso.
crazy.
The espresso.
Well, we're talking about Apple. We'll move into this one. A regional court in Dusseldorf, Germany, has granted Apple a preliminary injunction in its ongoing patent suit against Samsung and their Galaxy tablet. This prohibits the advertising or sale of the Galaxy Tab 10.1 across most of Europe, save the Netherlands. Pending an appeal by Samsung, Samsung does plan to appeal. It could take a month or more. Until then, no Galaxy Tabs for anybody over there. Samsung has noted that the products already sent to German retailers will not be affected, and they plan to fight the injunction. So we've been talking a lot about U.S. patent law.
Yeah.
This is really a global patent law problem. What can be done? I mean, what are the steps that are going to be taken to prevent idiocy like this from happening?
Well, Mark Cuban had an interesting post about, here's what I would do, and it's basically get rid of software patents, get rid of business process patents, which I think are the easy, low-hanging fruit. You start with that.
Right.
Then you have to basically give the patent office 10 times as much resources. And the patent office is going to change to first to file as opposed to first to create, which is terrible for people who are actual creators.
Right.
Because now it's going to be who can pay the bill for the patent lawyers is going to win. So I think we have to, it needs to be addressed clearly, and it's bubbling to the top. And Europe is further behind us on this, and then we've basically bought and sold the patent office, and then Asia doesn't care, And so, what does this mean? It means that people in Asia are going to make better products and go faster, and then people are going to not ship their products to Europe. Just like people don't create jobs in Europe because there's too much red tape, and the United States now is becoming filled with red tape, and people will stop creating here and move to South America and Asia. That's where the innovation is going to move.
South America, I don't even care about the German thing, but this whole Zynga, Vostu.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting legal thing I think going on right now. U.S. court telling a Brazilian court not to shut down a competitor to Zynga.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
those
Exactly
are-
what is going on there? A U.S. court can reach down and tell them, don't shut down that competitor.
I'm not a lawyer, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I guess the issue is Zynga tried to
Right.
get a decision made in the U.S.
Right.
Couldn't really get done there, went to Brazil,
Right.
and the U.S. judge is like, oh, you don't like my decision, screw you. I'm going to tell Brazil not to shut Vostu down.
But they have no jurisdiction. They're just giving some advice.
It's like a statement, yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
like a letter.
So
Yeah.
Zynga sued Brazilian clone Vostu in California for stealing Zynga games.
Which they
Stealing stolen games.
Which, yeah, exactly. But the thing is, Zynga famously is hey, you can't copyright an idea for a game, Mob
Yeah.
Wars, whatever, which is
Right.
true, Sims. But these guys, in fairness, when you look at it, they literally did a pixel by pixel lift job. So
Yeah, Vostu's saying that they Zynga was going to create a strategic relationship with them, and then so that they're saying now that the lawsuit is really not about the games at all, but it's retribution for that, and that the Brazilian judge has sided with Zynga over Vostu.
I looked at Vostu's comparison. They put up I don't know if you saw the
saw
slide.
that, yeah.
They found 8 other sites that had very similar.
Yeah, other companies too.
Completely other companies.
Yep.
that had copied as well.
No,
the Zynga
it's
game.
you couldn't distinguish.
You couldn't
so you look at
distinguish who
Vostu,
started.
Yeah, you couldn't tell who really started.
Interesting. Yeah, it's all the same game anyway. It's all the harvesting mechanic and build up some resources and then spend it. Everybody's
remember Civilization? We played the game
These are,
a decade
these are
ago.
old games. Yeah,
These are old games.
These are not new ideas.
Yeah. In related news, first-person shooter, Duke Nukem is suing Call of Duty 4.
Right.
Wolfenstein.
There's a
in
game.
Paraguay, Wolfenstein has reached a summary judgment against Call of Duty 4.
I want to see Leisure
and
Suit
Portal.
Larry sue someone. That's what
Yeah.
I want him.
Where's the Leisure Suit
I want
Larry?
him to
This
come
is the
back.
first-person Leisure Suit
Yeah, how
Larry.
come
yeah.
where's
We're
the
gonna get
Leisure Suit
that.
Larry of our generation? It does not exist.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next story.
All right. Twitter is preparing a new update that will focus on real-time activity, and that also changes the way visually you see your new tweets. 2 new sections are being added to your Twitter page in place of the old Mentions tab. The first one is going to be @ and then your username. It will show you all activity on your stream, not just people mentioning you. So when people favorite something you've said, or someone follows you, or someone retweets you, exactly. Right, there you go. The activity tab will also
Full
show you
screen
these
for mine.
things,
Yeah, you go.
but it's going to show you the activity for everybody that you're following. So it's that basically, but for everyone, all of your connections. So the concern here, I think, or the theory is that this is going to make Twitter a lot more busy. Do you think this is going to make it easier or harder to engage and to follow conversations? What are your general impressions?
Well, let's ask a social media expert. What do you think?
You know, I actually don't have it. I just went to check, see if I have it yet. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I actually think it echoes a lot of what you find in Instagram, which is a very similar news feed, and I find that to be very valuable because in a sense, it's distilling a lot of Twitter. Let's face it, it's too noisy now. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
it
way too
flows
noisy.
by with the updates, and you don't know how did my tweet do. And here, if you look,
It's
I
right
guess,
there in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at make mine full screen, please,
So
gentlemen.
I think it's a good thing. It's surfacing information that was previously a little hard to find. It's doing some distilling. It's grouping things a little bit. So
This
I
is
think
always
it's good.
interesting to me. Is like when you have a hyperactive thing. I mean, a bunch of people adding me to lists, and then I get every couple of minutes, these 10 people are following you now, and with all these, I guess retweets are big. I mean, it was a little too much when I first started looking at this. I want to have a plain @Jason feed with just responses. They've basically ruined my mention feed. It was really good to just see people
just
replying to
people
me.
who are talking
but now I'm
to
getting
you.
like people favoriting stuff, and I don't really care too much about the favoriting and the retweeting. And look at this, 117 others following me. I get this every couple of minutes because there's so many spammers on Twitter following me.
And you're
But
at a
this is
certain
a direct-
scale, you're going to attract a lot more than the
Do you
normal
think,
user.
having come from MySpace and been part of the sort of trying to salvage the asset and the community, do you think Twitter is finally catching up on their product releases with Facebook and Google+, or are they just hopeless?
No, I think you're right. I think it's mostly them catching up. I mean, think about all the problems you had to solve. The scale issues, the 5 different ways they tried to make money on this thing, the developer, which they had to build and kill and build and kill.
Yeah.
So they had to go through all these distractions. So I think now you're starting to see some of the product, and I think it's Jack. I think now Jack's back.
Yeah.
He's already starting to infuse it with a little bit more movement.
Right. They are releasing, it seems like the release schedule, hosting images.
Yeah.
They got that done. Now they have this feed going. They got the new product out for brands. But I mean, where's my, I was supposed to have a pro page. I mean, I was talking to Ev about that 3 years ago. Like,
Sure.
where's the
Something you pay
professional
for.
account?
Yeah.
Why
They've
can't
been
I see my
talking about that for
metrics?
forever,
It's still
Analytics.
terrible for businesses to do anything on this platform, yet it's still so compelling. But Google Plus versus Twitter, which is more important to businesses today, Sean?
I think it's still Twitter.
Still Twitter.
Yeah.
But
It may be Google Plus when they start integrating offers and other features, and I did this sort of mock of what I thought a Google brand page should look like. And I think when you start to have some of those elements, then maybe.
Where would you, if you were advising a client, where should you spend your effort if you're starting today, percentage-wise, Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter?
I think it may depend on what vertical they're in, but I would probably in most cases still say Facebook. I think the value
Most of the time
customers
on Facebook. So
yeah.
break it down on a percentage basis for a restaurant or a small services company, let's say, like a web designer or something.
So I think maybe you go 50 in on Facebook,
Yeah.
30% on Twitter maybe at the most, and
Yeah.
then you do maybe another 20 on SEO and SEM.
Ah, okay.
Depending on budget, though. If you have a lot of budget, then you're going to want to adjust those a little bit.
Ah,
but
got it. Interesting. What are you doing, Paige, with BetterWorks
So
in terms of your efforts to get the word out?
Everything. But within everything, like Sean said, Facebook converts the best for us. Obviously, LinkedIn is a good fit since we're talking to businesses and
Yeah.
hitting them up. Twitter's more of a research tool. I mean, we do engage in conversations, but what's great about Twitter is it's more research. You can scrape that and learn a lot. Facebook's really good for targeting people that we've seen.
Ah, so you can say, give me all of the businesses in this location with this many employees, or people with this title, or who are interested in this topic.
So we can, you can hyper target on Facebook now.
Yeah, the buying ads tool on Facebook is second to none.
And the entry point's low. The entry point on Twitter is 80 grand, 125 grand,
Right.
depending on who you know.
They
but
don't have the self-service tool yet.
They don't.
And they don't have any metrics. So, I mean, how long is it
They
going
have
to take
some,
them
but-
to catch up?
Hard to say. I don't
year?
know. Maybe.
At the current pace, it's taking them a year to have what Facebook has now?
I mean, as they're moving faster, they have momentum, so that may help them, but the momentum's in the product. I don't think the business Twitter page hasn't changed as far as I can tell in a year, 2 years. So
Hey, Tyler, if I could give you $1,000 to invest in the three companies at their current valuations, how would you split that up?
Google.
You put the $100 on Google.
Yeah.
All 100. Nothing on Twitter, nothing on
Right.
Facebook. Wow, that's a pretty telling statement. Hey, when we get back, well, what do you think? You're doing a lot of social for Ranker.
Yeah, I mean,
Where are you guys spending your time?
we
Aside from
definitely-
SEO and SEM and all that kind of stuff.
We have
just social.
the biggest wins from Twitter, which has to do with our content too, which is very easy to promote. Hey, the top
Very
7
viral.
hottest cartoon character. I mean, like that stuff does awesome on Twitter. Facebook, we don't see nearly as much engagement. Like we'll get a lot of likes, we'll get a lot of comments. We won't get.
Well,
Nearly
does it make
the
it to people's
amount of
wall? I mean, is
follow-through.
that the mistake that they've made? made. Facebook is Sean is Facebook is saying we're going to tell you what's important in your feed, as opposed to just giving you your raw feed and you unsubscribe from things you don't like.
I mean, well, they do have the raw feed, but I think
But it's not the default anymore.
Yeah, but I don't think most people use it too.
That was a mistake, wasn't it?
I think it was a mistake, but they were fighting games at that point. And remember, they blocked the games, and now they're coming back with the games. So
Right.
I think it's going to have to stay as it is.
The draconian policy of we're going to tell you what's important in your feed, mistake, and now they're going to open it up and say you curate your own feed. You take out games if you don't want them there. You take out people you don't want and mute them. Because Google Plus, let's face it, I see everything I want. Twitter, I see everything, and it's up to me to say I'm going to take stuff out. Who is, and you know that Facebook is saying we're going to take out this category of activity and make those people pay for it. So they basically took games out, they took pages out and said, if you guys want to promote your stuff in other people's feed, pay to do it. I mean, it's so disingenuous.
It is a little bit, because they're basing that all on data that benefits them, not the user. So they know that if we take that piece out, the user spends twice as much time on, clicks more ads, does whatever. They know that, and so that's what they're leaning towards, which is it is what it is.
All right, when we get back, I want to hear about all the games going on in Google Plus and how that's going to affect everything. And what else is? Oh, and the Angry Birds valuation is just crazy. Let me tell you about something that is crazy awesome, and that I think a couple people in the room use is MailChimp. There you go. That's it. We're done. You use MailChimp?
I do.
Okay, there you go.
Always recommend them and use them personally.
How long have you been using them? What do you use them for?
For years, I've used them for my personal stuff. And anytime I deal with a new client that doesn't have a mailing list, we start them right there.
Because?
Easy to use, integration, the nice integrations they have. They're into everything. I just signed up for this new thing called Recurly, which is like a subscription credit card service. Really great. Integrations right there built into the product natively.
Because the API of MailChimp is so robust.
So the API is great.
Zora, though.
Yeah?
Check it out.
Which one?
Zora.
What is that?
Recurring, subscription-based.
There's a few of those,
Yeah, what is it? What is it when you said Recurly?
Recurly, yeah.
Recurly, so like reoccurring revenue or something? Subscription billing made simple. That's interesting. So if I wanted to make a paid Jason Nation thing, I could have them pay $1 a month, and then it integrates right in, and that's interesting.
And you could get reports from what revenue, where it's coming from in terms of what mailing lists or so forth.
And the cost of MailChimp, of course, is affordable and free for users under 2,000. I think it's 2,000 emails. It's free. So why wouldn't you just go try it out? I'm sure some of your clients don't even need to pay for it. They just use it for free. And MailChimp just says, hey, if you ever get to the point where you're sending over 12,000 emails, then we'll start charging you. But we're going to support you in your email efforts up until that point, which for many of you is going to be forever. Now, if you have a Twitter account, if you have a Facebook account, if you have a Google Plus account, and you're an independent contractor, you need to start building a mailing list. And if you're building any kind of a business, you need to have a mailing list, and you need to communicate with those people on a regular basis, because that's for life. Jason at Calacanis, for life. Sean at Percival.com. Is that yours?
SeanPercival.com.
Sean at me at SeanPercival.com, whatever your thing is. That's going to be you for life. And Twitter may come and go, MySpace, Facebook, Google+. Sending people through those systems, they're going to be transient. I only check my LinkedIn every month, and I don't even read it. So you're going to miss me. But my email, that's for life, and MailChimp lets you create that relationship. Their free plan is always free, and lots of great integrations. And they've been a great, great supporter of This Week in Startups and independent media. So I highly recommend you thank them on your Twitter account or wherever you do your social media. Well, let's go on to the next story.
So we talked a little bit already about Google Plus games. They've wasted no time in adding games to their up-and-coming social network. Company announced on Thursday that it was teaming with Rovio, PopCap, and yes, Zynga to bring casual games to the site, which will go public shortly. Launch titles will include Angry Birds, Bejeweled Blitz, and Zynga Poker, though many of Zynga's most popular titles like Farmville and Cityville are Facebook exclusives and won't make the trip over. Google insists that users will be able to control their Google Plus games experience. It can be accessed easily by visiting the Games tab if you have it already.
But not everybody has it.
Not everybody has it. I don't have it yet.
I can't find anybody with it.
They said they were going to start rolling it out on Thursday and Friday, so some people should have it soon. Once on the Games page, all the usual social network gaming add-ons will are expected, so ability to share your progress with people in your circles and all that stuff. But if you don't go to the Games tab, you won't see that stuff. So how important is it for the future of Google Plus that they get games right? And do you think the naysayers, the people who hate games and don't want this, does that matter? Are there enough of those people that that's a significant issue for Google?
This is game over for Facebook. I mean, Facebook's two biggest markets are images, photo sharing,
photos and
games. And they just hit them right in the nuts. I mean, 25% instead of 30%. I mean, Google, this is Larry Page aggressive Google at its best. I mean, they are, and the fact that Zuckerberg could not get a search engine out before Google got a social network out shows you who's going to win this fight. Facebook has peaked. It's like peak oil. Facebook is peaked.
We're at peak
and
Facebook.
They're at peak. What would you call it? Peak social?
Yeah.
Peak engagement? Peak social?
Over social.
But like you have peak oil
Yeah.
and you have peak social.
But peak oil's
Peak,
running out
peak
of
engagement.
Social
I
has.
think peak engagement.
The social online has peaked in terms of its novelty, all in all.
Right, but it keeps moving from place to place. So you had like Facebook, you had Friendster's peak engagement.
But
You had peak engagement on MySpace,
Yeah.
and then after a certain point, engagement starts to go down because there's something more interesting to play with.
There's a big difference though, is when MySpace peaked, there was still a huge percentage of the population that had not had an experience with social, right?
Yeah.
So, but now grandma and the porta potty companies and the used car dealers have dealt with social now. Like there's nobody left that hasn't touched social in some way that's
Yeah, but
going
no,
to-
the business. I mean, come on, the businesses are not all in on social yet. I mean, they're just starting to say, "What is a Facebook page?
The
How does
car
that work?
wash
What do I
has
do with
follow
that?"
us on Facebook as their, you know,
Who does?
the car wash across the street has.
Yes.
I mean, who isn't on Facebook?
Right, but it's one of my point is they've done that in the last 12 months.
Right.
And they don't even know what it's going to do for their business.
True.
They just put the Facebook logo.
True. However, Google is in a place to do something with their business in a very real way. Can you pull up my screen?
Yeah, pull up Tyler. I think that there's like 8 guys. Oh, there we
So
go.
I'm just looking at Google stock here based on your
Yeah.
last question.
Right.
And here's an ad now for Google Offers, right? Coming to your town, and you go into Google Offers, and it's their. Not only are they going against
That
Facebook,
looks like I've never seen that page. What
nice.
is that page? Have you ever seen that?
and it's
That's
for-
the first time I've seen that. Zoom in on that.
And
Tyler. I
it's
think
for
you may
the-
have broken something.
I've seen it. I don't know why it's
I've
overlaid
never
on the
seen
map,
it like
though.
that with
I've
over
never
the
seen it
map.
look like that
no,
with
but
the
that's
map
it's an ad
background, yeah.
landing page, I think. But look how with the time counting it down,
Yeah.
I've never seen that Google Offers page. Hey, get
and
the launch
and with
people
the
on
look
making a story
inside.
about that.
Not only is
Caroline.
it that it has a look inside. You can
Take
go.
a screenshot of that and send it.
Hang on, but you can go inside the restaurant now because
Right.
they're doing that part of the program as well.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, the street
Look
view
at that.
for indoors.
Oh. So now the street view indoors. So basically,
And you can +1 it, of course.
yeah,
which-
yeah, of course.
Naturally.
If you're
Share
thinking
it.
of doing a Groupon deal or doing a Google deal where you're going to get +1 to death, potentially.
Right. So you get your Groupon experience at a lower cost to you, and you get your social and SEO built in.
Right.
Whereas Groupon, you don't get the social and SEO
Correct.
built in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Now
it's
check this
compelling.
out. Look at the cities options here. Look
Right.
look all the coming soon.
Oh wow, yeah.
So,
This is the thing. If you don't sell your company to Google, aggressive Google will beat your company. I mean, that's basically what it's coming down to.
the point here is they're going
You have
after
Yelp,
they're-
Groupon,
Yep.
and Facebook all in the crosshairs.
Within a matter of months, this all came together rather quickly.
This all is directly correlated with Larry Page taking over as CEO. And by the way, the day he took over as CEO, my understanding from inside sources was he was acting CEO for the year before that. So what you're seeing now is he basically, a year before probably 6 months before they announced it and a year before he actually took over, he was acting CEO for all intents and purposes. And I was told by an inside source that he wanted to be CEO from the start. They just thought the public markets couldn't handle him being CEO because of his quixotic personality.
Yes. Interesting.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about? Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I was going to say really quick on the business thing. It's interesting. I think my concern is businesses got burned once before. Now this was the initial rush when you have to have a website.
Right.
It's 20 grand for the website. Oh, you
Yes.
need to have. Oh, by the way, it's do you want to be part of the search engines? Well, that's another 10 grand every year or something. Those
Right,
stupid
some
scams.
SEO, $1,000 a month to be in the $500 a month.
Some of them they're loving, they're embracing social media, but at the same time, some of them are getting burnt because they're getting these social media consultants that are like have no idea what they're doing.
and
Doing
they're
all
coming
this
in
dumb
saying
crap.
sign a social media contract for $2,000 a month for 2 years.
Yeah, and they get 100 Twitter followers and they get no actual revenue out of
Right.
it. Google could step in and actually say, here's your revenue, here's your growth, here's this, here's
Right.
everything without you having to
And
be
your
technical
dashboard.
at all.
The local business dashboard is the future, right, Paige?
I think we're going to see more and more businesses with iPads, smartphones in the store.
Yep.
I think that's going to be the cash register. It's going to be the
Right.
menu. It's everything.
And they're going to know who their customers are. And when you walk in the door, you're going to come up on their iPad and it's going to be, hey, here's how many times you've been here. Here's what you like. I mean, it's going to get to the point at which they have a complete understanding of their business.
They have a complete ecosystem. It's like Google got all of the online folks to use their ad network, right?
Right.
And buy your traffic here and play that whole game that's going.
And use Google Analytics.
And the analytics, and they have that ecosystem going locked down.
Right.
Now they're applying the whole entire thing, and they were very successful at that, and now they're applying everything they've learned there
local.
to real businesses.
Yeah.
That is 10x what was involved in online.
And it's everything from maps.
It's everything to maps, and the businesses are just starting to figure that out, and the reviews, and all of the pieces, and they have all of those pieces. Going back to, why would I put my money? It's like, how many businesses are going to sign up to buy now inside of Google in their ads and doing all this?
Yeah, 5%.
Compared to Twitter.
0.
Or Facebook.
0.1.
Right. I mean,
5%.
that's why, going back to answering your question, where would I put my $100? It's like, they've got an entire ecosystem versus
it feels like Facebook,
one step of it.
For some reason, to me, it feels like Facebook is almost like they're out of their league. And it just seemed they were so invincible. Just last year, they were invincible. Now it feels like Google Plus comes out, Google Local, and all this stuff. It just feels like they're very vulnerable.
Yeah, it changed the game, it changed the direction. I mean, I think you look at Google and the engineering talent they have, they just finally were able to make it work.
And maybe we're confused. Like, I still think Facebook is social, and we're comparing them in this whole business ecosystem.
Yeah.
And maybe Facebook should stay to its roots and stay social. Let Google play with the big boys and do business.
Yeah.
That's what hurt MySpace. They went in way too many directions. Unfortunately, their directions were because, hey, we sold something, so let's build a whole product around it.
Right.
Facebook doesn't do that, which is
Right.
great. But look at them; they are getting a little splintered, I would say, and that's the worst.
Right.
thing
It's
to
like
do.
their Q&A product was always terrible. And yeah.
Yeah, but look at Larry Page. What did he do? He came in there and he said, okay, let's get rid of labs, let's get rid of this. Like, they're closing things down. I think it's the right thing to do.
Smart.
And you know what? I think they would hate this analogy. Larry Page would personally hate this, and Eric Schmidt especially. But they have taken a page from Microsoft's book, which is be relentless, and don't keep iterating. Because Microsoft Word 1.0 was laughable compared to WordPerfect. Excel was laughable 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 compared to Lotus 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
And they said, and Outlook compared to Eudora was laughable, and they just said, you know what, laugh all you want. We're going to iterate and iterate on these products until Paradox, Lotus 1, 2, 3, and WordPerfect are no more. And that is exactly what happened. And that's what I think Google's going to do. Let's go to the next story.
Did you want to talk about Rovio?
Sure.
Was not on our list because it's too recent, but Rovio Entertainment, maker of Angry Birds, reportedly seeking funding that would give it $1.2 billion valuation, according to Bloomberg, citing two people with knowledge of the discussions. So Rovio's been growing, of course, insanely lately. They've now opened a new corporate headquarters in China. They're planning cookbooks and toys and maybe even an Angry Birds movie, according to Variety. So, you know, what do you think of this? Is that a reasonable valuation for a company with one really massively popular fad game?
How many copies have been sold of Angry Birds? I think it's 25 million.
I bought 3. So.
There you go.
I bought it more than
I think
once
that's
at
part
this
of it.
point.
Yeah, it's the number, and it's
Over 12 million copies sold as of December 2010. So.
Oh, yeah, I think
Gotta
there's
be
more than that. I think I see a Wall
15,
Street number here with 25 million copies.
Oh, well, there you go.
At an average price of $2 or $3,
Yeah.
I would say.
I'm seeing the Wall Street Journal thing. More
they
than
have
25 million copies.
Let's say
sold.
if they have over 25 million, and the average person spends $2 or $3, because you can buy all those in-app purchases. You got to think there's some whales in there. Let's call it $3. They have $75 million in revenue. They probably have 100 people working at the company or less. That means they have a profit margin of 50% on this or something, 70% on it. Who the hell knows?
I think it's completely. I mean, it's a brand that we all know.
I think it's pretty reasonable. $1 billion. I'm wondering why the Angry Birds has not been purchased. And I heard, and this is a breaking story, which I broke 2 weeks ago. Still breaking, in the process of breaking. But I guess the launch people haven't watched the show and haven't gotten to this yet. I interviewed somebody who told me their friend was hired by Facebook to make in-house games at Facebook. Facebook is going to start making their own games, is my understanding.
I got the key paragraph here from the Wall Street Journal article. There are now 120 million active monthly Angry Birds game players. To compare this to another media property, there have been more than 25 million copies sold of the best-selling console game of the past year, Call of Duty Black Ops.
Now, there are free versions of Angry Birds, correct?
Chrome. I believe if you get it
Chrome
in the
has it
Chrome
free.
store, it's for
So
free.
maybe the sales have been maybe 50 million. Who knows?
Right.
They
They're
probably
saying
have 100.
that's players as
Players,
opposed to
yes.
sales.
Right. So that's a little bit of a weird number, too. It's a great company. The question is, I guess, are they going to have a second hit like any of these other companies?
Right.
And how interesting is it that casual games now are much more important than the ones that take $200 million? You know, a casual game that takes $2 million to make or $200,000 to make is more compelling than something that takes $100 million to make, like Call of Duty 4.
I mean, it's interesting.
It's a different medium altogether. It's
Right.
like you're not playing Call of Duty on your phone.
No, but it's still, the consumer behavior is still a game.
True, but
still
the
play.
context is you're waiting in line at the DMV. You're playing,
Yeah, I was gonna say the
Angry
audiences
Birds. You're not playing Call of Duty.
The audiences are just so different. You've got these like incredibly passionate gamers.
I guess
who
my point
live for that
is
stuff, and then
it's-
everybody's sort of.
It's so
like,
heartening as an entrepreneur to realize that you could make something that cost 1/1000th of what the best person in the world makes, and then beat them. Angry Birds. There's somebody who made Call of Duty and who's the CEO of that company, or the guy or gal who's the product manager, who right now is just banging their head against the wall saying, Jesus Christ, I hired all these actors to be the voices, I spent all this money, and I'm being outsold by birds screaming across the page.
You pay $50-$60 for Call of Duty, though. You pay $2.
And it's a $1 billion franchise. That's true.
Yeah.
So I think they make $1 billion when they sell the game. Is that right?
Yeah.
They sell 25 at 50.
Those games regularly are now outgrossing like every movie that opens.
Yeah.
that
So actually, the
weekend
big
put together.
that's true. So
Not $1 billion, but maybe 500 million, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, well, if you sell
Well,
10 million copies, if you sell 20 million copies at $50 each, it's a $1 billion game. I think these are $1 billion games. Yeah, they're clearly $1 billion games.
The thing I was thinking about too when I heard about movies and this, I was like, The Simpsons. What did The Simpsons make? And so like I found something that says they made $2 billion in the first 14 months. Because that was a franchise that was like the merchandise, which is Angry Birds, the merchandise, the movie, the games.
Right, that's what I think. That's what's interesting about
That's the fun
Rovio
part,
is what can they do now that we know Angry
Oh,
Birds.
of course.
We
They're
see
doing
that
a
they're on
TV.
T-shirts.
Jack Black is on he's the Angry Bird.
Right,
I totally
yeah.
see Jack Black as the Angry Bird.
Totally, he's the black
right?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Or
can see that
maybe
being
the
a
red
big
one.
movie.
Maybe the red one.
Yeah. So I mean,
Oh yeah, the red one. Yeah.
And I want the Olsen twins as the
Wow.
the blue birds. They're chained together.
Yeah.
I've always wanted them.
But no, wait, there's 3 of them.
yeah,
So
we
you
get
need
that.
That's all
triplets.
one person doing the voice of all three. In the first 5 days, Call of Duty Black Ops, the first 5 days it was available, $650 million in sales.
Wow.
Wow, the best indie
Bigger than the
game.
movie.
This is from JK in the chat room. The best indie game by profit is Minecraft. It's made over 50 million. It was created by one guy.
It's true. And I can't
What-
figure it out.
What the hell is
Makes no
Minecraft?
sense.
Anybody know that game?
No.
What is it?
I played
It's
it.
sort
It's
of it's like
retro-y,
Second
it's-
Life
yeah.
plus a game, sort of, because
Sure.
it's this virtual environment, and then you have to like painstakingly build things like buildings and cities, but there is a game mechanic.
The cool
to
thing
it,
is you
yeah.
can put things together to make things. So you have to put a rock and a piece of wood together to have a pick, and then you can dig deeper, and then you do this, and so there's some
Yeah.
interesting things
All
in
the
there.
guys on Hacker News are crazy about this
they
game.
love
All the
it.
developers are nuts. 11.7 million registered people. Wow. Unbelievable. Pull up my screen for Minecraft. And you're right. It's just like this game that is not really super high tech, right?
Very low res.
Oh, and it's in browser. You
Wedding
play it
weekend?
in the browser. Okay. Next story.
So Hulu has announced plans to expand the service to countries outside the U.S., beginning with Japan before the end of 2011. Japanese users can right now go to hulu.jp to sign up for the service. They'll get notified when it launches. The service is going to be subscription only at first, no free Japan Hulu for now. It'll resemble Hulu Plus in the U.S. They haven't said what the monthly fee is going to be yet, so you'll have access to it on your computer, your mobile device, your tablet, gaming platforms, and TVs. So what do you think about this move and the timing of it? Is this just where inevitably their company was going? Is it a proof of concept? Are they jacking up the price before the eventual sale? Thoughts?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer to be in multiple places. My question is, can I watch the Japanese shows here with subtitles, and is this going to be a global destination, or is this going to be just isolated islands, and I'm going to have to get a VPN in Japan to watch this
I
stuff?
think this is Japan Hulu. I will take a look and see if I can
I
figure
think
that
that
out. but
somebody's got to make.
I don't think you can get.
This is never going to be. It's never going to give consumers what they want, which is one place to watch every single thing in the world for one monthly price, because of the rights issues. There are people who license all the Japanese television shows or Korean shows to resell them on DirecTV. Like you can buy a Japanese
Right.
DirecTV package.
Well, or the anime they bundle and then they
Yeah.
sell it to TV networks over here, DVD companies.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys, anybody pay for Hulu in here?
I did for the first about 3 months, and then I started to realize everything I was watching on Hulu Plus was also on Netflix without ads. Almost everything.
Almost everything.
I mean, there'd be like, if you got Parks and Rec, you want the most recent season, it's on Hulu. But the old seasons, which is the big
Yeah.
selling point of Hulu Plus, like, oh, it's the archives.
Right.
That's already on Netflix. I'm already paid for that.
Yeah, I think this is. I think this is pump up the valuation. That would be a
sort of
classic
what it
pump up the
felt like to
valuation
me.
kind of a thing.
If they did some research over in Japan, they found out that a lot of them want to watch the American TV shows, that it's not easy for them to get over there. It's free money.
Yeah, but that's not what they're doing, and they're not going to be able. I don't think that they're going to be able to sell that. But that's why.
There could be a huge
China-
pent-up demand in Japan for American shows, because they're not getting a lot of American shows over there. and they
yeah, they are, because of piracy in China and in Japan is rampant.
that's two separate worlds. Japan
is
is
rampant. I mean, if you look at the BitTorrent activity in China and Japan and those places, they are downloading.
Not in Japan does not have, and record labels will be the first to tell you this. Shockingly, Japanese will not download MP3s. They've never had a piracy issue on anything in Japan, and the record labels,
Japanese people feel it's wrong.
they won't do it.
On a social,
They don't have a
cultural issue.
Correct.
Yeah.
They've never had it.
But they will pay for it.
Well, sure,
Yeah,
they'll pay for
magazines
it.
are doing great over there too. So
Magazines are doing great. Napster never had a problem. I mean, there was never a piracy issue in Japan, ever.
that's it. It's like its own weird little subculture for business, and that's why American companies don't do good there, and that's why Google's not number one, and Yahoo run by.
I'm just saying, I think there's a huge pent-up demand there because they don't go online and download it illegally.
You guys have any thoughts on this Hulu madness? You
don't
guys
watch
are
a lot
laughing over there like kids.
Well, Paige was pulling up inappropriate stuff, but
During the show, pull up Paige's computer. Thank you. We can pull up
Charlie,
your
we're
computer
about-
anytime.
Right there, go ahead. Do
There you
it.
go.
I dare you. I dare you. I dare
That's
you.
my
Do it.
computer.
No,
That's Sean's.
Pulled up.
Pull Paige's up.
There you go. Danilo, programmers being hired at
That's one of his
BetterWorks.
programmers.
Programmers.
Whoa, that is a programmer extraordinaire over at BetterWorks.
Yeah.
So I actually don't really watch TV, so I don't have much comment. I love.
You have a child. You have a 12-month-old.
I heard they're not supposed to watch TV till they're 2. This is an argument the wife and I have all the time.
Yeah, I don't think it's not a good idea, but I do think short, like Elmo clips,
Vignette
okay.
type stuff,
And
yeah.
then in the car, we do all the educational stuff.
Sure,
So
the
London
Baby
can
Genius type
count and shapes, colors, meet the shapes. There's a great series of like.
Cool.
But it will drive you mad as a parent because you're in the car and it's like 30 minutes of blue, blue, blue,
The tape that teaches a kid blue.
circle,
Does not sound.
circle, circle, circle. And it literally, they just
my-
have 10 voices saying
what I would
circle,
do.
circle, circle. And this circle's going by the screen. And she just sits there, circle, circle. But now she can count and she knows all the colors. It actually really works for the fundamentals.
How's her elevator pitch coming along?
Very good,
Susan
very good,
by
very
next
good,
year.
very good, yes.
Gotta get that
If
tight.
we're wrapping up, though, let's give a shout out to MySpace Tom, who's watching us.
Oh,
He's
MySpace
getting-
Tom is
Oh,
in
he
here.
is,
I'm
yeah.
trying to get Tom to come on the program. He's like,
wants
no,
to.
I'm like
think he should.
a down low kind of guy. I want him to host This Week in Social Media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
former show.
Your former show. All right,
I don't know if
let's
he'll do that, but you should have him in.
I gotta have him in.
He's
He has become
he's helping a hot
prolific.
startup
Yeah.
in town now.
What's that?
He's helping a hot gaming startup in town.
Oh.
Yeah.
Crystal Wolves?
No.
No.
I think Tom's being sneaky about it. So.
Ah, a little breaking news there.
He's a
Hearing
private
from
guy.
launch. Tom is working
I think that's
on
the
it.
shout out he was asking for, right? He
Social
wanted
media.
thing.
Sure you want to do it.
I was trying to figure out why is he pumping up his social profile now of all times, and I'm like, he's got to have something to
He's
sell.
working on, yeah.
That's how I am. I'm like Howard Stern or like some of those guys. Like the only time you're going to see me on stage at a conference talking is when I have something to sell.
Trump.
And
Yeah.
Trump is
totally
the same way.
like
Like,
that,
yeah, I love Trump.
All of a sudden he's out there every day.
How great is it that he's like, listen, I was not going to run for president, but I'm now reconsidering because I'm looking at the financial situation and it is terrible, like I said, and I'm buying the stocks today.
His financial situation.
Well, and then today he's like, I've never owned stocks. I'm buying everything today. And he like says this 2 days ago, and the stock market's like, he's talking, and the stock market's going up, and I'm like, well, that's about right.
Yeah.
Obama talks, the stock market goes like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Trump.
Then Trump comes out and it goes like that. Then Obama can't shut up, and what is going on? Every time he speaks, the market's like, stop talking, and he is like this, like jazz musician who is singing the blues, and when he starts talking, it's like. And he's like, we have challenges, and there are, gridlock in Washington, and he just keeps playing the blues, and he's speaking at this thing, and I was just laughing my ass off because I'm like, he talks about how great America is for 30 seconds, and then I'm like, wait for it, and sure enough, Obama's like, and there's gridlock in Congress, and we've got challenges, and there's a lot of hardship to come. And people are suffering, and there's no jobs, and the real estate market is terrible, and we have problems in Europe, and he just lists every effing problem, and I'm like, guy, can I give you a clue?
I thought he's sandbagging.
I'm like, what are you doing? Stop talking about every problem. People are obsessing enough on CNBC, and you are making people more obsessive. Your job as a leader is to say, listen, we're the greatest country in the world. We got the most intelligent, driven entrepreneurs. We got Paige, Craig, and we got all these other guys, and they're crushing it. We don't have nothing to worry about. We're going to come out with great products. We have Google. We've got Twitter. We got Facebook. I'm sorry, where's China's? Where's Europe? Does Europe have a Groupon? No. We do. We came up with that. We're going to be fine.
The Americans do love optimism. That morning
got
again.
no-
It's morning again in America.
Yeah,
That
we're
was
going to
the
fight
big,
through this as a
the
crew.
big
You know.
headline.
We need to get Reagan back in there.
That was Reagan's. All of his
Well, you know, you
faults.
say
That was
it-
his strong suit. Is
Yes. You get, I mean,
great
listen,
with the optimism.
Yeah.
Always sunny.
he was always sunny and, like some kind of a plan as well. Like, I wrote my little piece
SDI,
like,
I love it.
What's that?
Star Wars. Reagan, that's what we need.
that was
no, but it was, well, you know what?
He could take complex stuff and I got it. It's Star Wars.
That's
I got it.
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars was the best-selling movie.
Because he was a Hollywood
And-
dude.
Yeah,
but
That's
he
who
got
got
it.
that.
He totally
He's
got
a pitchman and
No,
a
but
Hollywood guy.
did you see my piece on let's create some retraining for the people who could be retrained
Yes,
piece?
yes,
So
I thought
it
I
was
was just
great,
like, if you start putting ideas out there and you start showing people that, hey, maybe we could do this. Maybe there's ways to get out of this. Then at least the discussion stops talking about everything spiraling down and things going up. It's like having a startup and there's some problem, and all you do is talk about all the things going wrong, and the entire staff is like, oh my God, everything's going wrong. And then you look over here and say, like, but here are the bright spots and the things that are growing. Let's focus on what's growing and double down on that.
Yeah.
And Obama doesn't get that. He's a terrible president. Terrible.
Terrible.
Lon, admit it.
He's
You
a-
voted for him, and he's a terrible disappointment. Not leaving the wars in time.
I'm not.
The splitting the difference on
I've
healthcare.
never been over here defending Obama.
No, but I have to say,
I think he's a great speaker. I don't
Listen.
think that's a thing you can knock him on. I
When
think you
Tr-
can knock a lot of what he's doing. I don't
Listen,
think you can knock the
Are
oration.
you telling me that Trump and Sarah Palin are not going to do a better job right now? Can you sit here and
That is a ticket.
Who
That is a ticket.
But wait, who's the guy in Texas who is, since we're going off on completely, who's the guy in Texas who was holding the prayer meeting and then he's the governor of Texas?
Rick Perry.
Oh yeah.
Who is this guy?
He's so much like George W. Bush, nobody will vote for him. He's too
No,
much
no,
like
but wait a
George W.
second.
Bush.
This guy reminds me of something from like The Omen or something like that. He's like
Yeah, Rick
running for
Perry.
president.
He's creepy. I agree.
So creepy. This guy
Oh,
is
from
like,
birth he was,
right,
positioned for
like this
yeah.
is like Satan's person on earth, and he's got people in a religious meeting talking about praying for the stock market.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who is this crazy evangelical person? And then I realized he's also the governor?
Yeah, he's the governor of Texas.
Wait a second, how on earth does a governor hold a prayer meeting for the market?
It's
Go-
it's.
go-
No,
go-
I
go-
said
so-
Texas.
supposed
You
to
heard
be
that
church and
right?
state
He's the
for a
governor
minute.
of Texas.
No,
You
but
heard that
so
right.
go to Congress has Bible study group. They have prayer meetings. It's
Yeah,
all,
they have a
you're-
chaplain.
But
Congress has a chaplain.
you're allowed to practice.
No, I know that, but of course practice. And
Yeah.
if you're an atheist, practice that, and if you're a Buddhist, practice that. I'm
You
not
don't
saying
have
that's
to
the problem.
practice that. That's the best part of being an atheist.
Whatever, exactly. Thank you. I'm going to practice at the poker table tonight. I'm going to practice
I'm
at the
practicing it
club. I'm going to be
right
in the club practicing my religion, which is rolling the dice, man. I'm going to be playing poker. That's my religion. Gambling.
You made me think of a new business model. So if we took Adley, we put prayer circles in there, and you pay for prayers worldwide.
Oh,
Let's do
absolutely.
this, right?
Pay for prayer. Pay for
Pay,
prayer.
pay for prayer.
Yeah.
Pay for prayer. Pay for post. Pay
And
for
you-
prayer.
and-
Let's take it
and
The
public.
Catholic
I'm
Church
investor.
used to have a pretty good line on that.
Yeah.
I seem to recall
We
years
should take
ago.
that online. That's actually a great.
I'm just wondering
that's a great
if.
model.
Hey Tyler, do me a favor. Can you register pay for
Indulgences
prayer?
dot,
Yeah, we could do a little
Pay
split
for
with the
prayer.
church,
Register right
and
now
you
for
get
pay for
100
prayer.
people
I
to
will make
pray.
it.
Track your
All right,
prayers.
we
you
could
get-
totally
you
do
get
Lightning round,
analytics
lightning round,
back.
lightning round.
New
Let's do
business
each
model.
story, and I'm going to point to somebody and they do the lightning round. Go.
Okay, the NYPD has opened a new social media tracking unit to monitor social media sites and communication for information about potential crimes. Examples they give would be criminals boasting about crimes or telling one another about where the police are currently located.
Tyler.
I'm looking up paper prayer.
If you're stupid enough to put it on Facebook that you just robbed someone, you deserve to be caught.
There you go. Next.
Klout, the social media analytics tool that gives you an influence score between 1 and 100, has doubled the number of services it measures. New sites include Blogger, Flickr, Instagram, Last.fm, and Tumblr. And back in June, they'd added LinkedIn, Foursquare, and YouTube.
I actually have people put their Klout score on their resumes.
It's the real deal.
It's real.
I agree. It's real.
Yeah.
It's real. It's actually accurate. Are you an
Yeah.
investor?
I was one of the first and biggest angel investors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you're also an investor in Adley.
No, I am not an investor.
You're
in
just a
Adley.
fan of Adley. You mentioned them before.
I was just making fun of prayer circles in an Adley type model.
Well, I had Adley's CEO on earlier this week.
Yeah.
Do you think Adley plus Klout would be an incredible combination?
We actually talked about this a year ago, and now I think Klout is best staying on its own.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just think that's the killer combo because you have Klout, which is like, hey, this verifies who's important, non-celebrities.
Yeah.
We all know celebrities are important. You put those two things together, and it's like Adley with your Klout score.
Yeah.
Holy
Well,
cow! It's an
it's
ad
like-
network
Yeah.
based on your
Yeah.
Klout score.
The only thing
Klout-
it's
Klout
not high
is fine.
volume. That's the thing.
Which thing?
normal people.
But normal
Like-
people,
No,
you
but
put
this
10,000 together, they are.
Okay, there you go. If
You
can
get
find them,
10,000
yeah.
people. If you say, here's Ashton Kutcher and 10 celebrities, and then we're going to pair them with 500 web celebrity, 10,000 to 100,000 followers, and we got the 10 people with over 1 million, put them together in one campaign at the same time for some new Hulu coming out, whatever.
Yeah. The magic to Klout is that when you start to see that you get a job, you meet a chick, you get a discount in a store because you're Klout, just like your fight, right?
Yeah.
Your credit score
Yeah.
is mortgage, car, all this stuff that impacts you, job. When you see that Klout is actually getting you hired, fired, dates, hooked up.
I'll tell you a quick
it's
story.
happening.
My wife and I were in Paris, and we were at a Starwood hotel. We had a little bit of a problem, and I was like, this is kind of a bummer. Tweet it. Immediately, Starwood people call me.
Oh, yeah.
They know my Klout score.
Yeah. We have call centers using the Klout score.
And then
Your
the Palms and Aria
Yeah.
hotels in Vegas, I understand, are using the Klout score.
Airlines are using it now.
I get to, and so I'm using all my miles from my Starwood, which I love. I wish Starwood would sponsor the goddamn program because I have 8 Starwood cards and 500,000 points. And I get to Venice, and I check into the Starwood there, and they're like, Mr. Calacanis, we heard you had a problem in Paris, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, you're going to like where you're going to stay here.
Yeah.
They take me upstairs, they put me in the presidential suite.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I can't afford this thing. And then I was like, wait a second, I'm paying with this points. They gave me a presidential suite, like
On
a
your
3,000
Klout points?
I think it was based. I literally but I literally think it's because of my Klout score. They look at my Klout score, they go 80. I mean, who has an 80?
Bieber. Oh no, Bieber has 100.
Bieber's the only 100.
Perfect. Bieber's
the only
and,
perfect
and
100.
Chuck Norris, but he's off the chart. We can't.
Well, now
even
I'm
measure.
just actually, we talk about
Can't even measure.
talk about tail wagging the dog. I went in. I was like, oh my god, I heard about the new services, and the
Right.
first thing I did was, oh my god, I gotta hook those up. And then I hooked up the wrong, because Google separated everybody's accounts from apps,
From apps,
and I've been going back and forth
what
on
a
this
nightmare.
And so now my YouTube account is Jason M. Calacanis instead of Jason Calacanis. And I'm like, I hooked up the wrong one. I have followers on the other one. I lost Klout score.
horror.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm the CEO of a company. I got a parent, and I'm worried about my goddamn Klout score now. Now I got another thing to manage. I mean, I got a perfect, what is the score for mortgages? I finally have a perfect score. FICO.
Yeah,
your FICO
800.
score,
You have an
right,
850?
yeah.
I'm not 850, but
Okay, yeah.
very close. I mean,
know
I have
that's
almost
possible.
perfect.
Yeah.
And because I just refied, and they were like, you have no problem refining. I'm perfect. And I mean, credit is free now, and it's going to be free for 2 years. What is that going to do for the economy? I mean, that's going to be incredible.
But this is a cool shift. Is that there's this focus from your online influence,
Right.
from your the credit, right?
Yeah.
And someone
Social
else doing that
credit.
here. And DMB, DMB recently split, and the guys set up in Malibu, and they're going from creditworthiness for businesses to credibility. And this company, I mean, Lincoln used to work for DMB. I mean, this huge company.
It's
they're here in
legitimate.
Malibu now.
It's legitimate.
Yeah. It's a big shift. Influence is a
It
big
counts
wave.
for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your ability to pay back. I mean, if you look at Airbnb and all their problems, what they're actually trying to do is use your social score to make sure you don't tear a place up.
Yeah.
And what if they said if your Klout score is above 50, you get 20% off?
It'd be amazing. Klout has, I can't remember how many now, tens of thousands of services integrated with Klout now are using it. From call centers to websites to
It's awesome.
dating.
It really is. And I doubted that company tremendously. Let's do a last story.
So Facebook has released an app called Messenger for the iPhone and Android, which allows people to communicate privately with friends, basically text messaging through Facebook. The app, designed specifically for mobile-to-mobile communication, is quick to open and doesn't require you actually logging into the full Facebook app. It was built by the Beluga development team, which Facebook had acquired back in March.
This is GroupMe, knocked off by Facebook,
Basically.
which is Google Hangouts. No, not
Not
Hangouts. What do they call it?
Oh, it's a Huddle.
Huddle. It's a Huddle, which is like Disco, which is... Who does this?
People do, but this is
Do you do this?
basically.
Do you,
I don't do it. No,
do you
I'm-
huddle with people? Do
I'm
you
assuming
group
it's people that are younger and more single. I
The
don't
only
know.
time you do this is when you're out on the town. Like I know when at South by Southwest, a group of my friends put me in a huddle, and we were like, "Oh, we're going here, we're going there."
Yeah.
And then one time when I was in Vegas, somebody did it.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's only when you're out like partying on the town that you would be in a huddle. Like,
But this can be
I don't need
one-on-one,
to-
too. This is just like you could use it in place of
then
SMS.
It's just in place of SMS. So I mean, I don't
This
know.
is your inbox, your Facebook inbox. I mean, to me, like, I have enough inboxes. My inbox is my inbox. I don't need an inbox there and there and there and there and there. So
It's
I
getting
don't-
out of control.
not
I
really
mean,
for me.
if only you just had like some address that people could send you all your digital communication to. Oh wait.
Right.
Oh wait. And if it was a standard and nobody owned it and everybody could build upon it.
Sure.
Oh wait. We do have it. I mean, this
There
is
you
why Mark Suster was correct when he called Facebook the Internot. Facebook
Yep.
is going to fail ultimately because it is not embraced the internet. It's a closed system.
too much of a
and
walled
the
garden.
internet will eject closed proprietary systems. It just may take some time. And it happens to be the best one ever built. But it's reached social peak engagement. Peak engagement. What's one name this episode? Hey, Paige Craig of BetterWorks, thanks for being on the program. Of course, BetterWorks is a system. You're public about what everything it does, right?
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah. So
Yes.
BetterWorks is the hottest startup in Los Angeles. Raised a ton of money at a ridiculous valuation. Congratulations on that.
Thank
I heard.
you.
And has a great team. And basically, they are allowing companies to give rewards to their employees that they can then go use with local businesses to incentivize them to do the job that you're paying them for anyway.
We save you a ton of time and money while you recognize and reward employees.
Yes.
Yes.
So for some
then
reason,
so a lot of companies.
I don't know what this is about, but for some people, some subsection of people who are employed would like recognition.
It's
crazy.
It's weird.
It's insane.
People like thank yous and they like little things. But here, you're a numbers guy, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to a buddy or someone hooks you up, do you give them $20? You buy them a bottle of wine,
Bottle of wine.
right? And why?
Because it would be crass to give them $20 and they would devalue it, but the wine shows that you took some time to think about it. And
And it's perception. So employees, for years, Anthem and everyone has been measuring these guys. Employees have a 3x perception on what it costs you to get them food, gym membership. So you can say you get a huge impact, and it's the emotional thing that you said. It's a real thing versus $1.
I like this. Now, does your system allow me to say to managers, you have this much to give away, go distribute it as you want, based at any time you want?
We have admins now, so you can take your trusted people here and give them an admin account, and they can buy for large groups of people.
See, this is what I want to do. I want to say to my top 5 people,
Yeah.
here is whatever it is, $25,000 a year.
Yeah. Give it.
Give it away however the hell
So
you
that
want.
is a thing coming up in the future.
Is it? Yeah.
It is.
Because I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
You know, I got 100 people who work for me.
We have this thing
for
called
the
set and
company.
forget it too. You want employees to work till like what, 9, 10 p.m. if you could?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I want them to work hard, yeah.
So here's a cool thing which we haven't.
There's 2 guys who are laughing their asses off.
no.
Who both work for me.
He definitely wants employees to work till 9, 10
Here's
p.m.
a sneak
Off
peek.
work before midnight? Wow. Okay.
I actually solved that problem, which is I changed the work week to 50 hours here.
Imagine if you could set a rule.
Then nobody can complain.
We're law on anyone
No.
after 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
You would authorize them up to $10 for dinner.
Yeah, I do that already.
But it had to come here to the office, and it had to be after a certain time. So we're building this thing where you as an employer can set business rules that take care of them, and you set and forget. You can do it for breakfast. You're here by 7:30, you can order bagels to the office. You're not, boom, the rule's out the door. And this came through discussion.
So you have to check in.
You have to get here.
Be there to-
Everything happens to our system, so you can't cheat it. The food won't go to their house. It won't go. They have to be here before that time. It has to come here.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
pretty
can just set it and
awesome.
forget it and go.
And it doesn't feel draconian because, hey,
It's a fair trade.
it's a fair trade.
Yeah, I mean, you take
Well,
care
and if you
of
don't care about the perk, you don't have to come.
Hey, Sean Percival is a social media consultant and a really brilliant guy. He wasn't when I met him; he was figuring it all out. But he's gotten frankly, you've gotten very smart over the years and a lot of credibility now. You've done a lot of things. You figured out blogging, you figured out social media, you figured out how to be a good employee and work hard.
Yeah. Stay at a job for more than 6 weeks.
Stay at a job for more than 6 months.
I was thinking on the shower on the way over here, I was like, you know what? If I ever do anything big, Jason's going to take all the credit. And I think that's
Oh, absolutely! Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
So, and
No, see, I figured out the system. It's very easy. If you hire the brightest people and you work them really hard and you tell them everything you know, then they may hate you at times when they're working for you, but for the rest of their lives, they'll always say, that was the best boss I ever had. And at this point, I know for you it's true.
It's definitely true. And
For
actually,
you, maybe I'm tied with Mike Jones.
just because
my,
we spent a lot of time, we've done a lot together.
Yeah, even
but-
allow Mike Jones.
my brother now works basically in the film industry. He's doing publicity for
Right.
independent films. And both of us have commented on this before, that no one else at our jobs has the work ethic and drive
Yes.
that we do.
And when
It
you come
comes
into
from working for you.
yeah, and when you come, well, and I never ask you to work harder than I work myself.
Right, but it's just that constant, it's the energy and the intensity moment to moment of like, this is going on in the news, get up on the site, make
Yes.
this happen. What are you sitting around here waiting for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
people don't usually, that's not intuitive for people. Most people need to be
The thing you
trained
have
to
to
think
balance
that way.
with, which I've actually gotten better at doing, is balancing it with people understanding why. Like, I'm not doing this because if I am on you and I'm pushing you, it's because I believe in you, not because I don't.
Right.
So now, before I do it, different when you guys work for Bridge Browsers, just effing do it. Let's
Yeah.
go.
It was a little bit of
Now
that, yeah.
I'm like, listen, I think that you're capable of great things, and I'm going to push you hard. and your job is to rise to the occasion. But if I didn't believe in you to do that, you would not be in the building, because I don't have time for somebody who doesn't have the potential.
Right.
So I am rooting for you, and if I'm not rooting for you, you're not here. And that just, I think, frees people's minds.
It's great. Lon came in, did our first marketing sales one-sheets, and the dude was like, I was amazed. Like, he came in, did his shit, and was gone. I was like, you didn't milk me for more hours? Like, great work ethic. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe
But that's why I'm going to start stealing people. Now everybody wants to hire somebody who worked at Mahalo. And now I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to start hiring everybody who works for Paige Craig. Because now, I was talking to one of your guys at this event, and he's like, oh, God, Paige is just intense. And like, you go into, this is what the story, can I tell the story?
Yeah, go ahead.
He says, you go into a meeting with Paige, and one person gets singled out, and then he asks you a question. And you answer it. Then he asks you 3 more. You answer it. And he says, well, what about these 5 things? And you just sit there in terror wondering if that is your time, that you're not going to be prepared, and he's going to drill down on you. Because he's going to drill down on somebody in that meeting.
I'm big on details.
Exactly. But nobody knows. It's not like you tell them, like, hey, 8 people are having a meeting. By the way, you're the person who's going to be the... I love that. And just drill down, drill down, drill down.
It's not even purposeful of me. It's just a practice from, if I see any little bit of weakness in a plan or an idea, I want to get to the very base element.
Have that same thing.
It's like, how did we get here? Let's trace it all the way back.
Right.
Does it make sense? Okay, got it. You got your thing handled.
Right, move on.
And you helped educate me. In many cases, I'm actually curious. I want to know how you got there.
Right, so the lesson for young entrepreneurs is don't work for Paige Craig or Jason Calacanis. Just skip that step. No, if you do work for somebody like that, have your S together.
Yeah.
Have your stuff in order and be ready to... You have to, as a young employee, anticipate the questions of the person you work for. So you have to think, if I was going to get asked 10 questions, if I was in Paige's shoes or Tyler's shoes or whatever, what questions would I ask? And what, if I didn't understand, what would I ask? And be ready with that answer. And you know what the thing is? You always have to listen to the question.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, if you are purposeful in what you... So what this weeds out is people who are not purposeful. So it's like, I'm going to spend money on this program. And you're like, why? And it turns out sometimes you find out, well, I just thought it was a good idea. Really? You just thought? I mean, justification, research, what's there? But if you are purposeful in what you do in business, and everything is a consequence of you thinking and researching and making a smart decision, you don't actually have to defend yourself. You can just trace back what you did.
Right.
And there's a reason.
I read in this blog post that StumbleUpon was an effective way to introduce people and da-da-da-da, so I tried
it out and compared it, and this is what.
Exactly.
And sometimes there's a gut. You can just tell me, you know what?
I agree.
I couldn't get the point, and I just made
You
that
haven't been on This Week in Startup shit, have you?
Yeah.
No, you've been on Venture Capital.
Venture,
I thought you
I
were
think
on-
we did This
I think
Week
you
in
were on This Week in
VC.
He was on VC, but not on Startup. We have to have you on. You got some good advice. All right, everybody. Everybody thank MailChimp on their Twitter and Facebook, and everybody thank Carbonite. Oh, Carbonite, what a delight. Carbonite, what a delight. It's out of sight.
Service is tight.
The service is tight, and if you lose your data like Tyler, you will be scared and filled with
Right.
Dynamite.
dynamite. All right, I'll see you all in Vegas. Let's do it. Log out, show your cash, clear all the port out your cash. Microphone's up, please. Keep the mics up. Mics are up, guys. Hey, everybody, rate the show, rate the guests in the chat room. Rate Lon Harris's ability to read the news on a scale of 1 to 10. Rate my job hosting 9 to 10. And, all right, let's get on. Go to Vegas, baby. Boom.
Hip-hop charts and then stopping it, quick to drop and say opposite of the hottest shit, copping it. It's the profit kid, home is quick to accomplish, I'm positive. Getting green like a roster with a lot of dread. Money's piling up like the Washington Monument. The way I'm steering this track, it'll make you car sick. The only time you're gonna see green is when you barfing. I'm the Mothman, consider this the prophecy. I'm in it to win it, that's why I'm making a profit, see. And I won't spend it till my rich is stupendous. And I'm selling sicker than tech is the method, is to keep it independent. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money and defeat you.